Hi, this is Brett Sankis, the Right Brain business lawyer and the startup shepherd. And in this video, we're going to tackle an extremely important component or attribute of every successful partnership. Throughout this series, we're going to get into some hardcore legal nuts and bolts, things like vesting shares, buy-sell agreements, structuring partnerships as 50-50 versus 51-49. Decidedly legal issues and legal tools and things that you can put into your arsenal to make your business partnerships more effective, to have a better sort of negotiating position personally, things like that, the typical stuff that corporate lawyers might talk to you about. We're also going to tackle other things, including, how to just simply be a great partner. And that's what this video is about today. It's about what you can do. In fact, the number one thing you can do that you can bring to your partnership to make it successful. In 2001, I started a mortgage brokerage in Houston, Texas. I had a partner, a fellow I hired, an excellent business partner that I hired to be my lead underwriter and eventually became a partner in the business. We were severely undercapitalized and really struggled for a while, but then we started to hit our stride in 2004. It was a great market, and we were starting to figure out who we were in the world and how to make the phone ring a little bit. And had a very successful year, and then we had a big exodus. One of our longtime sales managers left. He took a number of people with him. We had just an exceedingly high degree of turnover. Actually, before that exodus, and it kind of spanned a number of months, we still had our very first loan officer that we had hired, and we were really proud of that. We're just such great managers, and we have such a great system here. And then we had a big exodus. And then we went through a period kind of lost in the wilderness of just turning people over constantly. And that lasted the better part of a year. And I can remember being out at my business partner's ranch and talking about it and having a conversation that we must have had a couple dozen times between, the start of that exodus and the day of this conversation. And he was saying, where can we find, better, higher quality people? And I was thinking, what are we going to do about that? When the light bulb went on, that we already had many, many high caliber people. We had had hundreds of people work for us over the course of 4 years at that point. It wasn't an issue of not finding the right people. Yeah, sometimes it is, but overall, there were plenty of people to build a business off of, but they weren't sticking around. And the light bulb went on that this isn't a them problem, this is an us problem. And that was the beginning of a conversation, a brainstorm that took place over a couple of weeks where we fundamentally shifted what we offered to our people. And that shift allowed us to recruit more quickly, retain better, and just absolutely blew away our previous highs, in the next year. And it was all from owning the issue, recognizing our role in the issue, right? Taking accountability for it and saying, there's just too much here for this to be all about them. Clearly, some of this, in fact, in that case, a lot of it was our problem. When I do partner and founder disputes, particularly early on, and I'm asking questions about what's going wrong here, right? What are the problems? How things start, and we're just digging under. I'm trying to understand the relationship. Almost always, I'll be just hearing, he or she won't do this. I'm pulling all my weight. They're doing, and obviously that's the perspective the person's coming to me out of. They wouldn't be hiring a lawyer to help them work through a partnership founder dispute. But sometimes it's particularly difficult to get any sense of what the other side's position will be, to the point where I'll say, make their case for me, right? Pretend you're your partner talking to your partner's lawyer. What would your partner be saying? Right? Make it as well as you can. And sometimes I get a lot of resistance with that. And I don't know if people think that they need to just constantly make their case to me, and I'll explain no, I'm in your corner, but I have to understand where we're weak and where we're strong, and I need you to understand that and to own it. Because the reality is, in any interpersonal relationship, it can be your marriage, it can be, as a parent, it can be in your business partnership, anything that's not working out well, you have a responsibility in there. Some responsibility. There's no question. Now, I'm not telling you you're the main crux of the problem always, right? That's not always the case. But there's some there's something you could do differently. Even if it was just you didn't choose a good situation or you didn't choose a good partner, but a lot of times it's more than that. It's something in your style or my style, right? And so what I'm talking about today is bringing to the table accountability and some self-awareness and owning your issues. And that will, every successful business partnership, fundamentally, the partners get this. And they understand how to give and take a little bit. And they understand that it's not weakness to say, you're right, I can see that from your perspective. And to really see it from their perspective. So we're going to come back around to this. Again, we're going to talk about a lot of other stuff that's much more, legal nuts and bolts stuff. But you'll hear me come back to this issue a lot. And when we talk about 50-50 versus 51-49 partnerships, I'll give you the standard stuff any corporate lawyer should give you, but I'm also going to come at it with this perspective, because there's a piece of this always driving these relationships. They're messy and they're complex. And to make them work well, you've got to get into that mess and you got to roll around in it a little bit, and you got to own your issues and your responsibility. You've got to take responsibility for it. So accountability is the single most important trait you can bring to any interpersonal relationship, business partnerships included. Next week, we are going to jump into one of those real nuts and bolts topics. We're going to talk about a structure issue that absolutely every partnership needs to deal with at some point. So we're going to get into that. It's a high-level structure issue, and it's a little bit more of that, legal maneuvering. I promise you there's a piece about the accountability in there, but this one's going to be a little bit more decidedly legal in nature. Thanks for tuning in. If you've got a comment or a question, I would love to hear from you. Jump in. That's how I know what content to deliver in the future. Appreciate you listening today.